Hello. Welcome, listeners. This is 9 Weeks Till Sunday, a show where we talk about pop culture, anime, K-pop, J-pop, really anything that just interests me. I am your host, Maya, and here with me today we have my friend Josh.
Hello.
And Eric.
How you doing?
And today we are going to be talking about the new Infinity Wars released by Marvel. This is not a spoiler-free podcast, so if you want to avoid spoilers, there will be a link in the description below with the time stamp of where you can continue off. Alright, so, Infinity Wars. I guess let's just get into it. Just your general thoughts and feelings. Like, was this movie worth the hype? Was it worth the 10-year wait from Iron Man?
Well, one thing I can tell you is that as soon as this movie was done, Maya and I immediately bought another set of tickets, went right back into the seats that we basically had the first time, and saw it a second time almost immediately. So if that's not a ringing endorsement of the movie's quality, I don't know what is.
Yeah, 100%. As someone who saw the very first Iron Man, and then from there was hooked, I would have to say this movie was definitely worth the hype. 10 years of waiting.
Alright, so I think we're all in agreement here that Infinity Wars, was definitely, it was definitely worth the wait. Thanos was the villain that we've been craving since Killmonger, in terms of, evil, in terms of, I don't want to say evil, but in terms of a compelling villain.
Antagonistic views.
If the villain wins, we are truly screwed. Or they are too screwed as characters, and we as an audience, we're like, oh my gosh, did the villain actually win this?
Well,
or can he even win this?
Well, before this, you never really got the sense that if the villain won, there would be big consequences. Loki winning, he gets Asgard, but you can take that back.
Yeah.
Because
we were never really invested in Asgard. We connect more with Earth.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's where we're from.
Yeah, that's why Killmonger is a better villain, at least in terms of that, because Wakanda's a part of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And because of how technologically advanced it is, if someone who didn't have the rest of the world's best interests at heart got a hold of everything in there, that could be very bad. So, with Thanos, the stakes are extremely high, because each stone that he gets makes him more and more monumentally powerful.
And each stone is already I'm gonna say a nuclear bomb in and of itself.
Yeah.
Well, one stone in and of itself carried the entire third act of Doctor Strange.
That is true. Time Stone. That is still my favorite stone.
It's the most powerful stone, mostly because we have no idea what the Soul Stone really does.
Maybe it just powers the glove.
Then the glove was already being used earlier in the movie to rip apart Nebula and whatever.
I mean, I guess, but
it's hard to say what it is.
I feel like we're getting off track here.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to the question at hand. Was Thanos a compelling villain? Was he worth the little teaser at the end of the first Avengers movie, and has the payoff of, when is this guy getting out of his stupid chair? Now that Granddad's out of the chair and walking, are we regretting that decision? Are we regretting our wish now?
We've sent Granddad too many prayers. He's become too powerful.
Yes.
That's the equivalent of what this is. But I will say that I think something that hurts Thanos is that a lot of his character moments outside of the first Guardians of the Galaxy are from scenes that you wouldn't see in the normal movie. They're from post-credits scenes, when Thanos is I got the gauntlet, I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah.
Stuff like bits and pieces of his journey to getting out of that chair.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see unless you're dedicated to sitting in and watching that. Although this movie is explicitly for those people, so I don't know how big of a criticism that is.
That's true. Eric, what are your thoughts and feels on Thanos?
Let me just say this. The first 5 minutes of watching Thanos' body Hulk, I'm thinking to myself, this is one scary SOB. Because you know that right after Hulk gets bodied by Thanos, we don't see him again. Banner's trying to bring the guy out.
The Hulk is no, I don't want to.
No, okay. he really gave the Hulk someone to fear. Like, the Hulk in fear up to that point was something you thought the Hulk couldn't even experience. Anger, yes. Fear, not so much.
Like, it's bizarre to me because, again, for the Marvel movie that all four of you saw, The Incredible Hulk, Hulk has fought characters that match his strength.
Abomination.
Like, Abomination was his physical equal.
The stupidest name, but same level of power-ish.
I mean,
just more
his
spiny.
Name is Hulk. How creative do you think? How inventive do you think his villains are going to be?
I don't know. I don't read like my base level of this stuff comes from like movies and like the animated series, as limited as that was. Even like from my dad's description. So like, if I know like the Hulk is basically like the most powerful like being on Earth, it's like, like come on, body this guy. Thanos basically put him out in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm also surprised at what they did with Heimdall.
Oh, like yeah.
Because like a big theory that was coming with Heimdall was that he actually had the Soul Stone. Because the Soul Stone, because like several movies have focused on his eyes and how they're like that weird yellow color. So people were thinking that like people were thinking that like the Soul Stone was embedded in his body.
I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I never really. Here's the thing with fan theories: is like I didn't put too much stock into them, only because it's like they're theories. Like at the end of the day, like we're just trying to justify, like okay, until like the creators say this is canon. Here's what's gonna like hold me. This is gonna hold me over until like I'm either proven right or wrong, and I'm gonna feel really bad when I'm wrong. And if somehow the creators take my ideas, I don't get paid for those. So what's the point of saying this out loud?
Right.
But Thanos is undeniably the most intimidating villain in the MCU.
And not just physically, but like mentally as well, because of like he's not just gonna destroy everybody. He is I don't know. It's like an interesting concept to think of like to think of death as like just a game of numbers to him. Because when he says, "I'm going to kill half the population of every planet to keep it in balance," it just sounds like a simple question, but the answer is no. He's going to murder. He's like half of a people to keep resources in check.
Yeah.
Like how? I don't know. It's a weird question. I don't even want to say it's a weird question. It's like I never thought like, oh, that is an interesting question. And good guy Thanos. How? Why? What journey led you to this conclusion?
Yeah, and that's one of my other problems with Thanos is that even though he's intimidating, we don't get a lot of stuff from his perspective.
Yeah.
We get like one flashback with him and Gamora, which is interesting, which shows like maybe a softer side to him, but it's never followed up on or elaborate or expanded upon.
Yeah.
Like Thanos' version of love, for like the way he distributes his love, like the way he shows love to Gamora, because like even though like because she is still one of his daughters, she's been basically like floating around with like the Guardians for like I'm gonna say a couple years according to like the MCU canon.
Yeah, I want to say about like 4 years.
Okay, so like
at least.
Yeah, so let's say like 4 years, like she's just like hanging around the Guardians, and it's like, oh, he sent her on a mission to find the Life Stone, and he knew that she did it, or like she found the thing but lied about it. Like I thought like with Thanos, it's like, it's either you do your job, and if you don't do it correctly, you die. That's how I've always felt about Thanos.
I mean, that was made pretty clear by the fact that Nebula exists.
Yeah.
Whereas Gamora and Nebula would fight because Thanos would tell them to, and every time Nebula would lose, she'd get a part of her replaced with metal.
Yeah.
And by that point, Nebula was pretty much all metal.
Like, well, there's nothing left except maybe her brain.
Yeah, to the point where you can play back her memories, like, on a video screen.
Alright, guys, so Thanos as a villain. Does he belong in Marvel's Hall of those that will not be remembered, or is he now, like, in the top 5 of your personal villain, like, choices after watching this movie?
Let me say this. The first 5 minutes of watching Thanos just bodied Hulk, I think it's safe to assume Thanos will be the pinnacle of all things that all villains should aspire to be for all future upcoming Marvel films. Not even Marvel films, like all general superhero films with a compelling antagonist and or villain.
I honestly don't know how you're supposed to top this. Like, it is definitely it is definitely shown that Thanos was worth the 10-year wait just because of how much destruction he brings down on literally everything he touches.
Like, I do not think, like, I think most of the time that we've seen Thanos on screen, like, most stuff is on fire or broken, and, like...
Yeah, I mean, even when he was in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, he's sitting in his chair, but that chair is in space where there's nothing.
Or...
Like, you have to wonder, did he do that?
Yeah, that's a good question, but, like, the only moments where it's, like, there's, like, nothing around him being destroyed are the moments where he's with Gamora, like, when it's just him and her. Like, even, like, when they go to, like, the little snowy mountain of, like, I'm just gonna call it, the Two Towers ledge drop. That's what that place was. It was just all snow, it was quiet when, like, he has to make the ultimate sacrifice of, I have to, like, basically, like, sacrifice my favorite daughter, like, for this cause.
Yeah.
Like, and I think if I didn't watch these movies and, like, find out, like, how much Gamora hated, like, Thanos, or, like, kind of get, like, some backstory, like, no, he basically trained her to be the best, and so, like, he feels like, I am your father, like, kind of love, and, like, when he has to kill her, because he does mention, like, like, my throne would have been yours in the future, because it's not like he's invulnerable or, like, invincible, he's just very hard to kill.
Or even injure.
Yeah, exactly. As can clearly be seen from the fight with Tony Stark, Spider-Man, half the Guardians, even Doctor Strange, that all that effort just to get one drop of blood.
Yeah, the battle on Titan.
No. Actually, no, rephrase that. Because it took all that effort just to get him down, just to take off the stupid glove. And then, of course, Peter Quill and just flies off the handle, ruins it in true Guardian style. The problem is there's actual consequences to that.
Yeah.
And Thanos just bodies everybody again. And then Tony Stark and him one-on-one, he could get a drop of blood from him. Like, when you go back and rewatch that. Stark's like, drop a mountain on me again, and I'm going to be mad. Like, really?
Yeah, he threw a moon at him.
And it was an awesome moon. He was just like, go. But, oh my God.
The sense of the scope for Thanos' powers is felt throughout the movie. Like, with each stone that he gets, you can clearly tell that there's a bigger and bigger escalation of power.
Yes.
Like, when he has the Power Stone, he's able to, like, rip apart Thor's spaceship instantly. When he gets the Reality Stone, he's able to disguise an entire planet's appearance. When he gets the Time Stone, he can bring someone back from death, only to kill them again. His way.
I will just quick rabbit trail from that. So the fan theory that Vision's gonna get that stone ripped out of his head did come true. So that entire plot line of, we're gonna separate the stone from your body was completely dumb. It was stupid. It was just pointless at the end of the day.
I mean, Vision was always one of the people that we knew was going to die when we heard that Infinity War was happening.
But that little dangle of hope, like, we can just take the stone out of your head. We just need to do some surgery. Oh, how much time do I have? Not a lot? Like, what in the what is this?
Yeah, I'm sorry to say this because Vision is one of my favorite characters, but as soon as Thanos was coming for him, it was a wrap.
Like, it was just sad because for, like, the latter half of the movie, like, all, like, let's say, Captain America and, like, Vision, Scarlet Witch, like, they've only heard, like, whispers of Thanos from Bruce Banner. He's like, no, this guy bodied the Hulk. Like, the Hulk is too scared to come out. So, we need help, like, right now. And so, like, he basically just, he walks through the door and just bodies them all. He's just like, Hulk, nope, go into a wall, knocks out Falcon, everyone, Captain America, he grabs him. He's like, I'm gonna get you, and then Thanos just looks at him like, this is so cute. Bop, just knocked to the head. I think that's a straight concussion right there. I don't care how much super soldier serum's in you. Like, they should have killed you.
I'll be surprised if his eyes still look in the same direction after that.
But Thanos he's gonna be one of those talked about villains. I will say for like the next year because at the end of this whole movie, he does exactly what he said he would do. With a snap of his fingers, he just got rid of half the entire universe's population.
And then he does exactly what he tells Doctor Strange he was going to do. He's going to wake up, look out at the sunrise on a grateful universe.
I just love that Thanos just goes into a cabin in the woods and is just chilling now.
Yeah.
After everything is said and done, it's just like, okay. I mean, I don't know. Like, if I was a big supervillain and like I fulfilled my plan, I guess I would just sit back in a rocking chair and just go, I've done everything I have accomplished. This was the highlight. This is it now.
Yeah, I mean, like, one of the reasons that Thanos is going to be talked about is because he's done what no villain before him, except maybe Loki, technically, has ever done. He's won. Because, like, the closest thing that we have to that is Loki taking over Asgard, like, while disguising himself as Odin, and that lasted for what? Maybe, like
a year.
15 minutes?
A while.
Yeah, like, but to be, okay, technically Loki did win, but sidestep, Loki does die in this movie. We all guessed it. It still hurts to think about it, and I don't want any speculation that, like, he's still alive, and actually this is a good time to, like, go to our next topic. Do deaths matter in the MCU now? Because we've had villains die, we've had heroes die, but some of them have come back, and so we saw Coulson die in the first Avengers movie, but in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like, no, he's basically brought back, like...
I mean, even though he's some sort of, like, clone robot thing, I still don't understand how that works. But the fact
still remains, like, that same actor is still playing that same character on screen, so, like, his death, like, that feeling of, oh my gosh, this was a punching gut, that does not matter anymore. Like, Quicksilver, he dies, he doesn't come back. Right. Like, you have all these, like, villains that die... They do not come back except for Loki because of, like, his magic and, like, mischief and, like...
Popularity.
Yeah, and popularity. Literally, like, he is protected by plot armor because if Loki truly died, the fans would riot.
Mm.
Yes.
Like,
so we'll have to check the streets after this.
Like, will the fangirls, like, just hit the store with the torches and whatnot? Like, no, Loki! We want you back! But I will say, like, coming in from Thor Ragnarok, like, ending everything on a high note. This was basically Thor's, like, worst week for a while. Like, next to Black Panthers, like, has to be, like, the worst week in the universe for a person. And
that's another thing. You have to keep in mind that, like, when Thanos arrives, that's 5 minutes after the end of Thor Ragnarok. So everyone's tired.
Exhausted.
Like, exhausted. Again, as the distress signal says, there's barely any warriors, and who's there are, like, dead tired.
Yeah.
Like, Hulk just fought a giant dog. He's done for the day.
but for kill count, because they did kill off important character, or like everyone's kind of important in the MCU.
Yeah, they killed off at least like 12, 13 people in this movie.
Like, Heimdall's dead, and he was the only one who could really open the Bifrost, because Thor could not do that on his own until he got his new axe, Stormbreaker. Because now he's like, I've unlocked my full powers as a god. I can basically command lightning, do all this fun stuff. I just needed my hammer back.
Yeah, I totally forgot that the Rainbow Bridge was called the Bifrost. Like, until it wasn't until the second viewing that I'm like, wait, how is the Rainbow Bridge here? And I'm like, oh,
right,
Bifrost. That's what that thing is.
And then Heimdall's dead, Loki's dead again. Gamora.
But maybe for realsies this time.
Yeah, most likely for real.
Maybe for realsies. I won't get into fan theories because I have a whole separate thing about that.
But, like, apparently, according to, like, an interview with the Russo brothers, some of these deaths may be permanent.
Here are the deaths some of them are not, because we have seen, like, future, like, movie, like,
because Marvel just loves to
spoil,
or market themselves.
Yes,
it's like, I get you want the fans hyped up so you can get that sweet, like, fan money, but at the same time, I wish some of it was like, no, like, if these characters die, you literally have a whole universe where there are others who can step up in, like, their place, but. But no, I thought Captain America was going to bite the dust. No, Falcon did it. Scarlet Witch is dead. Vision's dead.
Winter Soldier's dead.
Winter Soldier, okay, that was sad. Because we were all, like, so happy, like, oh, old man Bucky's back. And then he goes, Steve, and this crumbles to dust.
He's actually the first person that we see die that way.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, right. That is true. Oh, my gosh. Dang, that hurts. Why would you say that? Why would you make this true? It is true, but still, it hurts now.
He disintegrates, and all his left is the arm.
The 100-year-old man turns to dust.
But no, he's dead. Gamora dies via falling off a cliff.
Literally, mostly the the most ineffective way to kill someone, except this time they show the body, which means that she's actually dead.
Yeah, she's dead. Mantis is dead. Drax is gone. Groot is gone again.
Star-Lord is gone.
That was a surprise. I honestly thought he was not going to die.
Yeah, I figured he would have lived.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think who else is gone. Doctor Strange is gone.
Falcon's gone.
I said that though.
Oh, you did? I didn't.
Falcon.
We brought up Spider-Man. Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man is also dead.
That one hurt the most.
Parker, 15.
Black Panther's dead.
Oh,
that
no!
hurt the most.
No, we should keep that. We should put that in the front.
But back on topic, kill count doesn't. It felt very Game of Thrones-esque that a lot of characters who I thought would live have died by the end of this movie, and like will not be in like the next Infinity Wars part 2, or like I thought they would play a big role, but now it's like gone because Doctor Strange, he was our only magic guy in this movie, and he crumbled to dust.
I mean, I guess you have Wong, but yeah. I mean, he's invited to Tony's wedding.
Does Pepper even alive?
Does Pepper even alive?
Yeah, there was still a lot of characters that we didn't see get disintegrated, so that leaves a huge question mark. Thinking, are they still alive?
Yeah, because like at the post-credit scene, you see people are still disintegrating, so that leaves the door open. It's like, how many more people have died that we don't know about yet?
I will say this because, like, when you see the post-credit scene, like, it's very, like, every day. Even though we are, like, seeing it from the point of view of, like, Nick Fury, it's like, no, he's driving down the street, doing things with other people, and, like, suddenly, like, cars are crashing into buildings, helicopters are flying out of control, people are running, disintegrating, turning into dust.
Or, like, they get hit by a car that doesn't have anybody in it. Yes. It's biblical.
Yeah, like it is explained in the Bible, like that's how the rapture happened. So I would guess in that, like, are they going to touch on I'm going to say like a quick news clip in the next movie where it's like has the rapture like upon us? Because to the viewer who's not aware of or let's say if you're a person like the MCU and like you don't know that the Avengers are fighting somebody, or like because it's not like they announce like, oh, here's what we're doing this week. It's like, oh my God, God's is calling his people home, like what, like my loved one is leaving me, why am I still here?
Yeah, like
questions of faith in that way, because even when Peter dies, he's like, I'm scared, I don't want to go.
Yeah, like it's interesting how like when they die, it's like varying levels of awareness, because like Mantis, when she was dying, was like something's happening, and then poof, poof. Meanwhile, Peter's like, oh God, what the?
Like I feel it, and then you have like Sam Wilson, who like he's just lying on the ground after like being bodied by Thanos. He's just like, I'm just okay, like this is just happening. And then Groot just silent. He doesn't even say I am Groot, like trying to say goodbye to Rocket.
He just looks at Rocket and then
like this is
vanishes.
Yeah,
like just varying levels of acceptance of just their death, and like how will that affect the MCU going forward after Part 2?
Yeah,
I guess is a question for later. But now it's like how does death affect? Like you, like when knowing you've died, because even when Vision, Scarlet Witch kills him the first time, and then Thanos is like, let's just press the rewind button on this. I think I made this joke to you in the theater, like, oh, how does it feel to have your molecules rearranged? Like he's basically back just to die again, just worse this time.
Just to die the way that Thanos wants him to die.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, I mean, apparently it hasn't really affected the rest of the MCU, because I watched one of the latest episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
And they were like, man, did you hear what was happening in New York? And then, like, that's all that you get. So I'm assuming that means that episode probably takes place when Thanos first lands in New York, not before the rapture, because if that's all that they say regarding that, then whoever's running Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't know how to connect the movies anymore.
Apparently not. One thing you gotta also understand that death is very complex, and death is always gonna have a variety of emotions. Like we just discussed, some people are very accepting of it, some people are downright scared out of their mind. So I know because in movies and comics, especially superhero based, that you're always gonna get characters that will come back. But again, it was just shocking that at the end of the movie we saw so many beloved characters die, and to think that some of them will not come back after Phase 2. So that's something to think about.
But again, like, a lot of these characters just, in true comic book fashion, will just get replaced, like, with people with similar powers, because in Spider-Man Homecoming, like, Peter Parker, like, when he has this little, like, altercation with Childish Gambino's character, he mentions quickly, like, oh, he's got a cousin, like, over, like, in Brooklyn or Queens or something, and like, oh, you're Miles Morales' uncle, you're the reason, like, he becomes, like, the next Spider-Man. So there'll always be, like, a Spider-Man, even if it's not Peter Parker. Like, even, like, I think in, like, newer versions, issues of Iron Man, like, Tony Stark's not always Iron Man. Like, he passes, like, the mantle gets passed on to other people. Even the Hulk, like, that mantle gets passed on to other people. Falcon, in Captain America, that mantle gets passed on. Maybe not, like, here, I give you, like, my shield, or, no, like, just somebody's like, okay, like, I have to fulfill this role because, like, that is what's either expected of, like, me, or, like, or because, like, people need a symbol.
Yeah, even at one point, Peggy Carter became Captain America at one point.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of that in comics, so, like, if they start doing more of that in movies, like, that will be, like, an interesting tonal shift, because a lot of these characters, like, are people of color. Like, we're like, oh, like, we had Miles Morales as, like, the new Spider-Man, like, after, like, Peter Parker. And I don't even know when Gwen Stacy became, like, Spider-Gwen, or whenever that happened.
It was, like, some crossover event thing. I don't quite remember.
Or Silk, even. It's like, oh, you have different multicultural, like personas of Spider-Man. I'm focused on Spider-Man only because, like, Spidey's my favorite.
And his death hurt the most.
And, yes, because I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
And we just got him back!
My touch on, and that is, for a casual viewer of Marvel movies, and when I say casual, I mean, like, you just catch, like, every, like, Avengers movie, like, you don't catch the in-between stuff. Like, I think, like, I'm gonna say this, like, I think after Phase 1, like, you had to see every Marvel movie up to that point, because you need to know who your core Avengers people are. Then after that, like, oh, if you just caught the new Avengers movie every summer, like, you're pretty, like, you're kind of caught up, but you're missing, like, some of the finer points of, like, oh, who are these characters are introducing, or, like, what are they talking about in, like, side conversations and stuff like that. So for Infinity Wars, do you feel like you need to know every Marvel movie that they have put out in the last 10 years to really get the gravity of this film, or, like, understand exactly everything that's going on for all the pieces that have fallen into place?
You need to know about, I would say, 90% of what they're talking about. Because there are certain chunks where it's like, if you know the broad strokes, what happens in Thor: The Dark World, you don't need to actually see that movie. If you've seen Avengers: Civil War, you don't. That's all you need for Ant-Man. You don't actually need to see his movie to know about him, or, like, be caught up about that.
Yeah.
But every other movie, you need to actually watch.
100%.
If you're gonna be, like, caught up with everything that they're talking about, like, 100% of the time.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna agree with you on that. Like, Thor: The Dark World, you just need to know that the Red Stone, like, it was featured in that movie. It infected Thor's girlfriend at the time, Jane Foster, and blah blah blah. They had a whole thing where Loki dies. They get it out. Loki's not dead. He just moved Odin to Earth, and then that's basically just I think that's just a good intro into Ragnarok, really. Like, that's the only reason I'd watch that movie again.
The only good Thor movie.
What? Forget it. Like, because, like, even Chris Hemsworth agrees. It's like, yeah, no, the first two were, like, not his best performances. Like, but that's a sidetrack. But, like,
yeah.
No, like, yeah, you need, like, I honestly had a fear, like, if I didn't watch all of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., would I have, like, missed out on, like, an important piece of clue, or, like, person, or, like, something that could help, like, stop Thanos.
Yeah, the Netflix Marvel stuff still hasn't crossed over into the films, which
The Defenders.
Yeah, the Defenders haven't crossed over into the films, or the Runaways, or or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. really hasn't crossed over, except for that one character who seems to show up in, like, all of the Avengers movies. Like the Maria Hill, the woman that's with Nick Fury at the end.
Got like the assistant, just to be like, here, I'm just checking up on all y'all, making sure we're okay.
Yeah, like, she's in, like, all, like, the Avengers movies and in Winter Soldier, but, like, that's the closest we get to, like, seeing a direct connection between the TV show and the movie.
I get that, but I don't know. Only like I'm gonna say like I don't think we'll see like the Defenders hopping into like an Avengers movie anytime soon because like their struggle is more local based.
Exactly.
Whereas the Avengers are on a more like international, now galactic level of like crises, like the locals, like the local or like their hometown like superhero, like okay, like that's cool for like a week to week or like a binge watch viewing because like they can like you can get into like their home life, their own personal problems, and like really connect with them. But for like characters like Tony Stark who are like larger than life, it's like okay, like there's so much, but we only have so much time, so like let's have him really get into like his science, help him find like a new element, and like here nanomachines, like when did he do that? Psh, off screen, I'm Tony Stark, man, I've got plants to save, I've been waiting for this for 6 years. Like I do want to get into the mind of like Tony Stark and like what else he's been doing like off screen because like if you've been carefully watching these movies, he's always known that a threat's been coming.
Yeah, and that and like
he didn't know what form, but he knew the day would come when like the aliens would be back, and like he needs to be there to like fight them.
Yeah, and like his dialogue's actually actually a good indicator of the timeline for these movies because he says Thanos has been in my mind for 6 years since the attack on New York. So that means that between Avengers 1 and Infinity War, that was 6 years.
No, because that wasn't no. That's when was it that Scarlet Witch got into his head and showed him like a vision of the future?
I think that was
Ultron.
Yeah, that was Ultron. That was the
because here's the
she
thing,
didn't exist until Ultron.
Because Homecoming has like that timestamp of 8 years after the attack on New York. So like that's when like she gets into his head. He sees like the future. That's when he's like really building like, yo, I need to like keep Earth safe. That's when he really starts getting into like his whole creative mode of like I need to be able to keep everyone safe. Here's the best way I know how. Giant like AIs, robots, vibranium, like all that. So that's where I marked my 6-year timestamp. Yeah. Like, okay, so this is when this happens.
But speaking of Spider-Man,
okay,
specifically Homecoming, another thing that wouldn't mean as much to you if you hadn't seen Homecoming before seeing Infinity War is the Iron Spider costume because that gets teased at the very end of Homecoming. And like Tony's all queued up to give it to him, and he's like, "No, I'm good."
I will say like that costume. Oh my god, is super sexy. I love how everyone gets like the upgrades they need for this movie. Like the Guardians, they really don't get much of an upgrade because they're already in space. What more do you need?
Yeah, I mean, like Drax already has like his like superhuman resiliency and like
his own daggers, Mantis, whatever her.
Her mental powers,
sleepy powers.
Rocket got, his quick wits and his guns.
Yeah, but like Tony Stark, he's got the nanites that basically here, weapons on hand right now. Let's go.
Yeah, I was really happy to see the progression of technology that way because in the comics, the nanites are like the pinnacle of the Iron Man suit technology. Like when it's directly into his bloodstream and he can just call upon it whenever.
I have a question for you. Is there a moment in the comics where Iron Man like combines with the symbiote at some point?
If there is, I haven't read about it.
I'm honestly just trying to connect like the Venom, Iron Man, Spider-Man connection. Only because I'm like looking very much forward to Venom, but that's a sidetrack, and like I'm just trying to connect those universes.
Oh well, I can. Yeah, I have my own theory for how that movie is going to play out, but that'll be dealt with later.
Yeah, that's another. We can talk about that.
Let's talk about Venom for another time.
Yeah, like I oh my gosh, there's so many things I want, and like this movie has just opened up like so many like questions and doors, and like hows and the whys, and my God.
I've got one for you.
Go ahead.
Why is Gamora?
Classic Drax, though. Let's not argue that Drax delivers some of the funniest lines in the movie.
Dave Bautista continues to be one of the best parts of these movies.
Actually, let's talk about the humor in this movie. Like, as much as a downer that the ending was, like the gravitas that like half the universe is gone, there was a lot of comedy in this movie.
Yeah, like especially towards the beginning.
Oh yeah,
because
like the beginning.
Because like it was like action scene, joke, action, joke, action, joke, like, almost to the point.
It was a good balance of that though, because like it's like you don't want too much action to like make your head hurt.
But like for me at least, in the very beginning of the movie, when like they're showing Thanos as like this real, where they're introducing Thanos to the heroes for the first time.
Yeah.
I almost feel like they started joking around a little too early, just because they didn't let the scene breathe a little bit
Or
to like feel the weight of how intimidating Thanos is. Although I guess the rest of the movie is
it's like
for that.
you saw the entire you saw an entire Asgardian ship on fire.
Yeah.
Like, and Thor at this point from Ragnarok, he's still his jokey self because that's his best self.
Yeah.
Like, there's no really going back to like the stoic, I am a god. Like, there's no going back to that. We saw what worked. He needs to be joking.
He got himself a haircut. He's done with the regal attitude.
Like
at this
Chris
point.
Hemsworth at his best is when he's able to like kind of like be joking and like flex and like really like kind of like have his serious moments where he's like, oh, I'm joking because I'm pissed. Like when I see Thanos, like I'm gonna bury my axe like in his face.
He's like, oh, death is a really powerful motivator.
Like everyone.
Yeah, he just listed off death, revenge, anger. He listed off all negative types of emotions as motivations to kill this guy.
Yeah.
But in regards to the humor, I did really appreciate how each individual, I almost want to say area, of the MCU clearly still has their own sense of humor.
Their own feel, like it's like as if its own separate movie, like kind of like just clicked itself, like mashed itself together into one film.
Yeah, like Iron Man has his quick wit and like his sarcastic quips.
Star-Lord like still references like 80s and late 70s movies.
Yeah, and their whole thing is that they always go constantly back and forth, like with like their own jabs and jives constantly.
Yeah, and with Black Panther, it's more familial joking, where like you have like T'Challa and Okoye, like they're going back and forth, where she says like, oh, when you said you open Wakanda to the rest of the world, this isn't what I meant. He's like, oh, what do you imagine? The Olympics, maybe Starbucks. like little moments like that like are always appreciated. Like they're not really laugh out loud. It's like it's like a small chuckle because like, no, this is still serious. Like they're gearing up for war and they don't, against like mindless like monsters, because you always need just throwaway monsters in these movies just to like kind of like
just for those big battle scenes.
Yeah, just to show off like how the characters like
it gives the soldiers something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick question though.
Go.
Who do you think had the best comedic chemistry? Do you think it was Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Thor, Star-Lord? Who did you guys think had like the best comedy jabs at each other?
Ooh, that is a good question.
Probably, push comes to shove, I would say either the Guardians and Thor or the Guardians and Tony Stark.
I'm going to say Guardians and Tony Stark because Tony Stark. There's a moment where like Star-Lord's like just talking and Jack is just like just uninterested in everything like around him, and Tony Stark is like, oh my god, you are all idiots. I'm in space with a bunch of idiots, and he just like looks off the camera for like a couple of seconds, just totally done with everything. And I feel like that was the best. That to me was a pure comedy gold because you didn't have to go back and forth.
That joke actually made me choke on my water.
It did. And so like that's my number one like comedy thing, like Iron Man like meets like Guardians of the Galaxy, because Guardians really don't take a lot of things seriously. Tony Stark at the end of the day he does. Like he just goes at it with like a sarcasm because like he knows how serious it is, but like to get through it he needs a little bit of humor to like just to get through the day. And then like this, I would say second, I don't think like these two people had good comedy, like had good chemistry, not really like comedic chemistry, would be Tony Stark and Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange is all about the mystic arts and Tony's all about that science. So it's like
science and magic clashing with one another. That's what their relationship was about.
Yeah, so like, it was very antagonistic, and it's like, yo, Tony, why do you have to fight everybody you meet? Like, come on.
I don't work for you. Stop telling me what to do.
But and it's always good to see Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. like act together, like the whole like I am the mentor, like I'm trying not to be your father, but I'm trying to be like kind of the dad because my dad sucked and I don't want you to be like me. Oh God, I am my father. Like that kind of dynamic is gold. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's always cute to see on screen.
Yeah, that whole thing was the foundation of Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yes.
So if you don't like that dynamic, I'm sorry.
And then I will say, like, I would love to see more of Thor and the Guardians together in a movie because they are essentially extraterrestrials creatures.
They are.
Yeah,
Just-
every single one of them.
Just chilling in space, being goofy. Like Thor, like he is still like his own character because he still like has his way of speaking that's very like deep and like kind of like bravado as like very Viking. If I had to like put a term on it, like he speaks like a Viking when he's not in his own movie, like where everyone kind of talks like him. Like outside of that, he has his own like tone of voice. Even Peter Quill like kind of mocks it.
Or he's trying to match it because he's like ashamed of his own lack of masculinity.
I will.
No, yeah. It's like Jack says, no, Star-Lord, you're a dude. Thor's a man.
A very muscular man. I will say this: Chris Hemsworth in this movie, he flexes so much. Oh my gosh, it was worth all the money I put into this movie. Like he just like it was like every 2 seconds, like he just had to flex, and I loved it every second of it.
But yeah, every single
Just so much
words.
muscles.
God,
You are a dude. This is not a dude. This is a man.
you're like one sandwich away from being fat. But like, I loved every character in this movie, especially the new characters that they brought in, like Peter Dinklage as the dwarf,
Yeah.
the dwarven smith. I did not expect to see him in this movie.
I didn't. Yeah, no, that was a very interesting surprise. Him and Red Skull were like my two.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Red
Oh,
Skull
wow.
was like the reaction that the audience gave in the second viewing was like perfect.
It was like, oh my god, like he's here. Like what in the world? Like you really feel like the gravity of not even the gravity. It's like how.
How out of left field it is.
No, I don't even think it was too out of left field. I just think like how interconnected this universe is because like, yeah, we assumed he died like in
But,
the
like, we
first Captain
forget-
America movie. It's like you don't really die from that. You just become something different when you're messing around with like these Infinity Stones.
Yeah, like you
Right.
forget that at the end of the day, we really don't know what these Infinity Stones are capable of or what they do.
But speaking of what they do, so because they're basically like just concentrated power of the universe, and Thanos put him on one hand, and so like when he has this moment where like he fits the stone on his glove, the glove doesn't really ever get removed?
Except
Like-
for it almost does.
Almost.
but it wasn't.
Almost.
But it wasn't like fully powered though.
Yeah.
Like at that point, like it was still pretty darn powerful. But like, what does that do to you as a person? Because if you see like the ending scene,
Yeah, like his veins are getting all like white or something.
like he was basically looking like Tony in like the second Iron Man movie, where like whatever in his arc reactor it was killing him, like it looked kind of like that kind of sickness, where like you just can't like this power is killing you from the inside out.
Well, yeah, I'm guessing that the stones are fine, but he probably can't use all of them at once again.
Yeah.
No, like for that probably not. Because like because I was watching the movie trying to see like okay, so he can only really focus on one thing at a time with the stones, but that's not a weakness either because the stones are pretty damn powerful.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you
Depending on
can
what you
see
want
that
to
he
do.
could, and you can see that he can use at least 2 or 3 at a time.
Or at least like super quick.
Yeah, because like when he was tearing apart Nebula, for instance, he was using the space and the reality stone
Gotcha.
at the same time.
Oh, okay, yeah, I would have to rewatch that then. There goes my theory. But like, yeah, no. So like, I guess the next question I have is, can anybody use that gauntlet?
Nope. No.
I mean, like, I probably, I want to say no, because it's probably, well, it was probably forged specifically for use by a Titan.
Okay.
Because if you remember back to Guardians of the Galaxy 1, it took all 5 of the Guardians to wield one.
Yeah, the Power Stone.
And the only reason that they were able to do that is because Peter Quill is half Celestial.
That is-
Yeah.
okay.
And it could be argued that he's not technically half Celestial now because he killed his father. His
killed
father with
Ego.
the he killed Ego, which is like the source of his celestial power.
That is true. Man, that sucks.
Yeah,
But
so
I
like he
wanted
just
there to be a
depowered
moment-
himself.
I wanted there to be a moment where Peter's like, yo, like just like find your inner celestial just deep in you, because that's in the DNA. It's not like, oh, it's powered off. It's like you're connecting with your father. You're just like, oh, I don't want to use this anymore. But it's like that's still a part of you.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that would have been explored if he didn't,
If he didn't die.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking because if Peter did have his celestial powers and they would fight Thanos, alright, let's be honest, would that have made a difference?
Probably not.
It's hard to say because like because like what the Celestials' power seemed akin to like a more concentrated version of what essentially the Reality Stone does.
Yeah.
It just warps things to like what they will, like turns you into a giant Pac-Man or reconstitutes your body after you've been completely destroyed.
There you go. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I hate asking these questions about power because it's like I like numbers. I like stats. Like if this character has this amount of stats, can we beat him?
So you're a fan of like Dragon Ball Z level power levels.
No, first of all, Dragon Ball Z power levels are bullshit because they mean nothing.
After a while, they stop meaning anything.
So more like RPG, like D&D, like if this is your level stats, or like Munchkin, where like you can clearly see like if you can beat a thing or not based on like your numbers alone against a thing and like your level ups. And like in terms of power, like I saw Thanos body the Hulk. Nobody was gonna beat him hand to hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and like even like when we saw like Gamora like slash him in the neck, like in like
yeah, like
when
that.
it got to nowhere, it was like, huh, okay.
Yeah, that seemed like even before you see it's an illusion.
Yeah.
That seemed way too fast and way too easy.
Yeah, but then again, like I thought
Like-
her sword was like made of something like really super special, awesome, or something.
Yeah, but then
don't
they-
keep track of this.
Yeah, but then they never explicitly say that. They're like, here, little one, look at this weird little pocket knife.
First of all, that pocket knife was beautiful. I will say that. But okay, but
Weird and beautiful are not necessarily.
Weird
are
and
not mutually
beautiful.
exclusive.
I like looking at weapons, but like I wasn't keeping track of like who had what really. Like, to
I'm
be
sorry, I can't remember everyone's names.
No, like, and I was surprised I remembered most people's names in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I can pretty much remember, like, almost everyone who dies, and it's like, oh my gosh. But, because, like, my gosh, there's just so much to look forward to with this movie. So I guess the next question is, does anything in the MCU even matter before the next Infinity War Part 2? Like, will Ant-Man and the Wasp matter? Will Captain Marvel matter? Or anything that Netflix puts up for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or like the Defenders or any of their other or Runaways? Will that matter at the state of the MCU now?
Well, for me personally, Captain Marvel is absolutely going to matter because I've been waiting for a Captain Marvel movie for years, and combine that with the post-credit scene that we see at the end of this movie. Although it depends on whether or not it picks up there or if it picks up before then.
Yeah.
I am very interested to see Captain Marvel. Ant-Man and the Wasp, however, I don't really unless they put out a trailer that somehow really gets me in there. I'm probably gonna skip it.
I agree. Besides Captain Marvel, I don't see any other Marvel movie being of any relevance to Infinity Wars. I mean, they didn't even bother to put Ant-Man in the movie, so what's the point of us caring about any future movies with him in it?
Yeah.
Like the best thing that I could, or the thing that I could really see myself caring about, is like a post-credit scene in that movie that sets up something else, or that shows like, hey, this is how Thanos' event like affected them.
Oh, okay, so like, kind of like visiting like so like we're back on the ground like with everybody, like how seeing like your loved one turn to dust like affects like them after.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to assume it's going to be like a little bit of time between like Thanos' like his winning and then like the world kind of like
Readjusting.
Yeah, like these people are dead. Like
half the planet is dead.
Yeah, and we don't even know which half, or like it's who's gonna come to power, like who's gonna rise up, who's gonna fall, like that kind of deal.
Yeah, and like you said, questions of faith, I think, could be a really interesting thing to explore.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if the MCU will actually delve into something as heavy as that.
Or maybe not in the movies, but I hope with
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that.
Them or like Cloak and Dagger, or like even like with the Defenders, like
Yeah.
I would see Daredevil like really having questions because oh man, who's Daredevil's character? I always forget.
Matt Murdock?
Thank you. Like Matt, like his whole character is all about like faith and like whether or not like, oh, like am I in the right for doing this? Cause like those like heavy questions that he needs to just get over himself about. I'm sorry, I like Daredevil beating people. I don't care for Matt Murdock as a person. He's kind of a dick. John Barathol's like, nope, this is wrong. You screwed me over. I'm just going to kill you.
I have no opinion one way or the other because I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, but that's my plug for watching The Punisher, basically.
What, you mean Daredevil season 2?
Both.
I know I'm making a joke. Never mind.
No, that's not a joke. Go see both. This is real life. But
what would you think? What do you think, Maya, about like whether or not like does anything in the MCU matter at this point outside of Infinity War Part 2?
I'm going to say I hate agreeing with you all the time because I want us to have a good back and forth, but like no, like I have to agree. Like Captain Marvel is the only like movie worth watching because like that teaser at the end, it's like no, like with her powers, like she can kind of take Thanos. Like we just don't know who she is, where she's been, how Nick even knows her. Like we know, like I'm a casual viewer, so I don't know anything about her except like she's pretty badass. And the way that she's been explained to me is like she's like Superman except female and like pretty damn awesome. Like,
that's essentially correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how she's been explained to me. So I would love to see that like on film. Like okay, like I need to know who she is, like and why this is going to be important for a setup. So like her like the personal journey, like that's going to be important. Like I'm not going to care about like oh like will she make it or not. Like I already know she's going to make it. Like like I just want to know how she's going to stack up. And that's it. Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'll watch it, but like I'm not gonna be like too heavily invested in it. It's more like this is we're back to like this is the Marvel movie that just tides you over until the next big Marvel movie,
which essentially was what the first Ant-Man was anyway.
No, but the first Ant-Man
first Ant-Man happened right after Ultron.
That is true. Yeah, but I don't know. Like a lot of Marvel movies kind of fit into that category, like at this point, and.
Well, I mean, now that Infinity War exists, that sure happens.
Oh my god, yeah. But, like, I think we're going to have to wrap this up because, like, there's other questions I have, but, like, they really won't matter until, like, after I see Infinity Wars Part 2. So, the questions of, like, hey, like, will this be addressed in, like, another show or not? Like, I'm not going to know until, like, I see trailers or something and I can pick the crap out of it until I actually watch it. But, like, I think that's all the time we have for so let's mark it here for those who wanted spoiler-free stuff. So let's just do like a quick like what your take on it. Should you watch it or not? Is it worth it for the uninitiated or the initiated? So I'm going to start with you, Eric. Is Marvel Infinity War worth it for the casual viewer and also the dedicated viewer?
For the dedicated viewers, yes, absolutely. Casual viewers, not so much, because you're not going to know what's going on. Plain and simple. You need to know who the characters are, how they got there, when exactly did all this take place. Otherwise, you're just going to be lost, and you're going to be asking questions, and who wants that?
What about you, Josh?
I would absolutely recommend this to the dedicated viewer. This is everything that you've been waiting for, and a bunch of stuff you weren't prepared for. But absolutely go and see this movie. For the casual viewer, I would still say to go see it, but have your dedicated viewer friend give you like a sheet of like, okay, here's what happened. Here's who these characters are. Like, here's why this is important.
Here, let me just print you out a Spark Notes page of like the important bits.
Exactly. Just get the Coos Notes.
Don't be that asshole who like pulls out their phone in the middle of the theater to just Google who's who.
Yeah, or like don't be like, hey, who is that?
Yeah.
Okay, what are they talking about? What movie did that happen in?
Yeah, that is always annoying, and I think I did that during Batman versus Superman. Or no, I didn't do that because I actually knew what was going on. The only person I didn't know was Steppenwolf. I literally had to Google him like right after.
Also, you know what I just realized?
What?
I realized why Hawkeye really isn't in this movie.
Because he's died?
No, it's because he was making notes for everybody who wanted to go see this movie who hasn't seen the other one. Cliff's Notes.
I hate you.
Yeah.